Welcome. I'm Ed Polly, the director of the Kennedy Museum of Art. Mitchell founded Passionworks studio in Athens in 1998. So that's 20 years ago, and that's what we're here to celebrate. And designed the studio's signature product, the Passion Flower. As an artist in residence, Patty Mitchell has helped organizations nationally and internationally start up with arts programming. Patty has received a Distinguished Alumna Award from Ohio University's College of Fine Art, Ohio Anna Citation of Art and Education.
Thank you, Jill Borkowitz.
An Individual Artist Award from the Ohio Arts Council. Thank you, Patty. A Citizen of the Year Award from Civitan, and the Keystone Award from Ohio University for Outstanding Community Service. She has a BFA and an MFA from Ohio University's Fine Arts Photography program.
Ooh, you guys. I am beyond thrilled to be here and with all of you. This is a community project. 20 years of love and attention and dreaming have brought us into this moment. I'm so grateful that this dream has manifested all around us in this space. When I was a little kid, right, I had a big brother who was 9 years older than myself, and I had another brother who was 2 years older than me. And Brad would chase me around the house, he would wake me up in the middle of the night and take me out for pizza. And I had another brother who was institutionalized. All my growing up, it was a mystery to me what institutions were like and why he didn't live with us. When he passed at 12 and I was 10, I really made a commitment as I was growing up that I was going to live for the both of us. And I was going to pay attention to institutionalization and what that was. I made a commitment to learn about it. And so when I came here to school, my parents lived here in the 50s. I'm from the East Coast. But my dad worked at McBee and my mom was the public health nurse at the Sheltering Arms. My dad said, you know, Patty, I think you'd like Athens, Ohio. I came here to go look at OU, and I stepped out of the car right outside the college green, and I was like, yep. And seriously, I was like, I'm going to live here the rest of my life. I may have majored in photography, but I actually majored in figuring out how to stay here. Learned about the hospital up here when it was an active mental health center in '83, and I'd come up every Wednesday, play volleyball, and do different things with people. And there was a woman up here, her name was Ann Randolph, and she lived here as a resident volunteer. She wrote plays, put on plays, and she would literally walk down the hallway and people would jump out of their seats and just gravitate towards her. And she put on these amazing events, and I was like, look at that. That's what I want. I want to be able to do that. She lived here my freshman year, and I lived here my sophomore year. On ward in Center Hospital, and Locked Men's was my main ward where I did recreation and activities, and then brought people, we went out into the community and did van rides and whatnot. But the most intimate and most poetic and connective activity was drawing and making art with people. It was all I knew. I had zero training. I didn't know anything. I just knew that if I was intentional with my time and hang out and make stuff, people change. I could see their spirit change. I was 19 when I lived here, and I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out how to build community studio where the people on the outside are at the inside of making. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. I had this thing in my gut. So as time went on, I did my graduate work in town, but the hospital shifted. And this obviously stopped being a mental health center, moved across the river, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do with my dream? Somebody suggested to go check the sheltered workshop out, and that was ACCO. I was adjunct teaching photography, and we did a photo workshop with cyanotype with some of the individuals at ACCO. And I was like, okay, I think this could be. And then after my adjunct time, I joined the Ohio Arts Council and traveled around the state for 4 years learning how to facilitate residency work. And usually, in Kate's another artist in residence with Ohio Arts Council, you know, so it would be 350 kids, we'd figure out how to do an art project. So that was training with figuring it out. After all that work of traveling around the state, I was like, why am I working so hard when I want to live in Athens, Ohio? what if we wrote a grant and we just had an experimental studio at the Sheltered Workshop and see what happens? We did, and we had a 3-week project. We made 100 papier-mâché birds, and he goes, hey, what if we call the Kennedy Museum? This was 1996, this just opened up. Those places have years, you can't just get in there. But I'm not a person to say no. And Sally Delgado said, yeah, sure, you can have your show. I was like, no way.
We had no director at that time.
So in that front gallery space, we hung our 100 birds. And the next year, we had a 10-week residency. And Gaby, who's here tonight, Gaby was born into our community. And our friend Denny Nafsaver wrote a poem welcoming Gaby in. And that was the story of flying. And it's a poem that speaks to the future of Gabe and Sophie, and that they're going to speak a language all their own and teach each other to fly. It's one of the most beautiful poems I've ever heard, and we made an installation to welcome Gaby into our fold. And we went into 15 different organizations, and we went out of the Sheltered Workshop, read the poem, and then made objects. And in the end, over 450 people worked on it, and we had a beautiful installation. And I thought, okay, we made something beautiful. And Bob, and I remember you had a picnic in there with the family. You came in and you enjoyed that piece. And I was like walking away like this is absolutely the height of possibility. But then, you guys, Ro, you had your students go up and write a response paper. And one of your students wrote about how he would beat up a neighborhood child with a disability because he saw him basically as the other. And when that student was in that artwork, he didn't write his paper about art, he wrote about his paper about regret. And that was a changing experience being in that space. So not only was it beautiful, and it brought people together, but it had a transformative application. Because we can all tell each other to be kind and treat each other well, as we would like to be treated, but we have to learn that on a different level. And I think art can do that. Not only in the making of it, but in being the audience of it. So thank you, Ro, because that story and that opportunity, I was happy with things being beautiful, but then I became a warrior. And I said, okay, I'm going to do anything possible. I will do whatever it takes to continue this. And so the Ohio Arts Council gave us a 9-month grant, and we had another show at the Kennedy Museum. I mean, we just keep coming back here. It's just phenomenal. And that show was connecting with professional artists and finding a partner to do a collaborative piece between artists who were at ACCO and artists all over the world. And then we installed that show. The show was all up, and she's like, what's the title? I'm like, I don't know. She locked me in a room. And she said, you can't come out until you tell me the title and write the... I know, I do, because I also had to write the statement. And so, thinking about the work that was in the show, everything that was made, and every person who did their thing was through passion and through work. And if we want to do anything, I think to make change, to see something new, you can't do it without passion. So, Passionworks. Artists use their passion to make work, and that was the name of the show. And then that eventually became the name of our studio. We were awarded another 9-month grant, and then the Athens County Board of Developmental Disabilities then took on a contract, and we carved out a space at ATCO. And it was originally a 10 by 10 foot space with a false wall, and on the other side was a TV and a place where people could take a break. So every morning, I would come in and move that wall about 3 inches. So slow did that wall move that it wasn't noticed, and we had more people in the art room, and eventually the tipping point came where the TV went away and the making was expansive. With that first grant, we were invited to bring other artists in. So Kate Kern was our first visiting artist at the studio. And Kate came in, and you may, if you've seen the installation in the first room, Kate is the facilitator of this piece. And so, paper, books, 2D to 3D, she was showing us all this beautiful work. this dart. Just cut a little piece of, into a piece of paper, and you can turn that 2D into a 3D. I tell you, sometimes you just have a moment where you know. What Kate did for us was the beginning of the passion flower. And we moved it into the aluminum, we moved it into a different type of thinking for employment, and we've made over 26,000 of those flowers. We've changed the conversation about employment and talent and how, so today, people at Passionworks receive minimum wage to make the passion flowers. And they're our bread and butter. We need the funding in order to survive, but they are the portal of possibility all over the world. People look at them and they see possibility, they tell the story, and I know they're changing. So, thank you, Kate. When we share our goals, our beauty and our study and what we do, it is extraordinary. In this town, share each other's joy, and our wealth is our interweb with each other.
On the wall are charms. My idea was make 20 charms for the 20th anniversary. Well, there's more than 20. And the work that I have in there is black and white, and that's my vocabulary. You can see connections between all of the work. You know, there's animals, some holiday symbols, houses, everybody who came in, right, to the studio over, I mean, there's so many hands that were involved with that. Paper mache, mirror balls, disco balls, mylar balls. We just sort of want to make it look like a party.
The full circle of your original time with us and then be able to celebrate at the 20th. The work at Passionworks is a collaborative process. It's not exclusive to collaborative work, but it often comes that way. And our core group of artists happen to have developmental differences, but the studio now today is a open community collaborative arts center. And so you all are welcome to come in. You don't need an appointment, you just come. And we're open from 10 to 6 Monday to Friday, and 12 to 4 on Saturdays. It's your clubhouse, it's your place to come visit. And what we do is we layer. There's some people who really love to do the texturing, and that can be a background. And like with Big Headed Girl, who's here, that was a volunteer who walked into the room one day, and Tom Depew said, "Stop," and did her portrait. And then it was enlarged to be this piece. And then pieces are taken and often echoed in others. So it's a fun kind of game, I think. If you walk around the room and you're like, "Ooh, there's that dog. Where is it again?" You know? So we recycle ideas, materials, all kinds of things to blend and to create these experiences that are the arts that we see. And so with that layering, we hung the show like that we have ideas, and we're like, somebody will be drawing a bunny, somebody will be talking about Easter, then the next thing you know it's eggs. It's like stream of consciousness visually in the studio. And so we wanted to get that feeling hanging in this place. And we just made ourselves a whole bunch of awards. And so we have a series of visiting artists. Mark Hackworth, I don't know if he's here. Printmaker. And Denny Nafziger and Deb Anderson. And their sister, Patty Nafziger, her work is on that far wall. And she was a huge inspiration in the studio. And so glad to be able to have that beautiful, to show her work off like that. And you can read her statement. So would you have any questions, I can talk about some of the pieces? Yes.
Well, I'd just like to make a comment. This is what should happen, and you can do this, and they deserve this.
Thank you. What we are doing is creating the evidence of possibility. Is if you believe that some folks may not have certain skills, so they don't then receive opportunities. If you think people do, then they do. We manifest our thoughts. A huge piece of what this is to put the bar so high and to show the evidence of what is possible, see the humanity, then we cannot dismiss. People who are born within certain bodies and with certain thought processes throughout the world do not necessarily have a comfortable life. It's a prison sentence for most. And people with developmental disabilities are the largest minority in the world and the most vulnerable. When we go forward, we say that we are warriors in this. We are very serious. It's a commitment to life. Passionworks, it's like, whew, unicorns. Because joy, why are we working so hard to live? Why are we doing this? It's hard. Because there is joy. And we are celebrating joy. Passionworks is the international training center in this model. So we share how we do everything that we do, from our paper mache recipe, how we set up the paint, how we interact with each other, how we design projects and programs and product. People from all over the world are coming into Athens and seeing what's possible. They go to Purple Chopsticks and see what's happening there. It's changing the mind. We also consult when we're invited. We are all about world domination. You think I'm kidding? Part of that is bringing Ohio University students into the studio. So the studio is also a classroom now. So they're learning about the model and then they're seeing it play out. And then those students are going to go out, whatever they do. They're going to have a different idea of problem solving and imagining possibility for others. And that's going to change opportunities for those who are vulnerable and themselves. This video was part of the Athens International Film Festival. Jeremy Bessoff, after graduating with a master's from the film department, came in and said, hey, can we do a video? Yes. And the whole storyline is from Passionwork artists, all the voice, the drawings, everything. Good wins. And the music that you will hear when we're done speaking is from a CD that we did. Bruce Dazell produced it, and the poetry that the songs are based on was done by Denny Nafziger in collaboration with Hawking College students, and then given to local musicians who then recorded. And it is just a fine, fine, beautiful thing. Back in the day, the Factory Street choreographed their spring concert to the CD. And we're also doing the Compassion Project, and we are making a heart for every child that's been separated from family at the border. People from all over are sending hearts and getting together and making them, and they've been sending them in. We made a sticker out of one of the pieces that were made, and we made about $1,000 for the ACLU to help with legal services. When we sent it, we were like, yay! And then a representative from the ACLU came down this week, and she came in, and we gave her a tour of this room as it was going up, and she just stood in here and she goes, I don't really get to see joy that often. Institutionalization can look in a certain way very, very austere and without application, but it doesn't have to. Thrilled to be able to have a place in our town where we are expecting beauty and joy, collaboration, partnership, community, and respond to opportunity. You may have noticed the gold ribbons on Court Street. So Lynn, not only is our board president, she's with the Storytelling Institute. She asked if we would make 48 banners for childhood cancer awareness. Only 4% of research dollars is dedicated to childhood cancer. I know you're shocked. Permanent Gold is about changing that through awareness. And I love that the studio can say, yes, we can do that, and we can make the things to have conversation and imagine the world in which we do want to live. It's Honey for the Heart, and we're experiencing Honey for the Heart right now. Honey for the Heart is a giant puppet making project. It happens at Central Venue, 29 East Carpenter Street. It used to be the old mechanics garage. You guys remember back in the day. I did a project in Minneapolis and saw the May Day parade, and they have a 3-hour giant puppet parade for May Day. They have a huge puppet culture in Minnesota. And so I came home and I was like, this is what Athens needs for Halloween. So I just started making puppets in my living room and putting them on Facebook, and I said, somebody's going to bite. We went and we talked to Maureen Wagner with Arts for Ohio, and we said, what if we changed the narrative for Athens, Ohio's Halloween, and instead of naughty nurses being on the cover of the Columbus Dispatch, we'd have art. And we partnered with Ohio University's Learning Community, so those two are our funders, and this is our 7th year. So now we have a giant puppet parade, 6 o'clock the night of the block party to kick things off. It's a blast.
It is. Very nice job.
When those puppets we're on the cover of the Athens Visitor's Guide, because, you know, Halloween was the thing you didn't talk about in Athens, you know, right? Art can do everything. So, here we are. Ed Fisher, I see you. The second show we had, you know, with the 450 people working on it, it was 250 flying objects. Ed walks by the gallery. I want this in my restaurant. It can't fit in your restaurant. He's like, it is. Our artwork has been at Ed's restaurant for 20 years. He has fed us, our bodies and our spirit, and I am so grateful to you, Ed. Ed said, Patty, people want to buy this stuff. I'm like, it's not for sale, it's sacred. Patty, make more stuff. Oh, yeah. Okay, all right. You know, so it's like, we can make more stuff, sell it, and then we'd have money to do what we want. He is the start of our business model. What a joy to have these places where there are these concentrations of love throughout our community. Everybody has a piece of Passionworks in them, and I'm just so grateful. Enjoy the show. The many Passionwork artists are here. Say hello to somebody you don't know.
We were getting a lot of donations. I think we can do finding some stuff into a package. I will ask
his work. Yeah.
in the way the camera's playing out.
And this one. Parents. Very involved. Quite a collection.
They like their picture taken. This one is Mr. Personality.
So, shall I introduce it? This is a book on how to get your cat to do what you want. That reminds me of that cartoon I have where there's a poetry reading and the poet's sitting up in the front reading his work and somebody says aloud. Experiment with calling the little fur ball on the phone and leaving a message on the answering machine. Some cats love to hear your voice and know mommy or daddy is talking to them, while others are frustrated if they hear you but can't find you. I called and let him know that daddy will be home soon and we're going to play chase, his favorite game. Say goodbye when you leave the home. Have a little kitty conversation. Some people say you should just leave and not make a big production out of it. But I couldn't disagree more. He's come to know the routine, and I know he finds the goodbye and personal contact very reassuring. Cats are not spiteful. They really don't stay up late at night thinking of ways to get even with you. They don't lounge around in bed contemplating a list of aggravating, villainous deeds. When your exclusive little fan club runs to the door to greet you, just put down your packages and dry cleaning and give your four-legged friends the type of greeting they're giving you. It takes 30 seconds and I guarantee it means a lot to them. Can Kitty have a midlife crisis? You bet he can. Particularly if his life has become one big routine. He can become bored, depressed, less active, or experience a personality shift, oh my God, or almost any psychological or physical change you might also expect from a human being going through midlife difficulties. Telephone Kitty. Ever wonder why Kitty gets so demanding when you're on the phone? Think about this for a moment. You're talking. Kitty doesn't see anyone else around. As far as Kitty is concerned, you are talking to her. After all, no one else is around. Who else could you be talking to? Cats are clever, but no one has been able to explain to them the miracles of modern technology. So the next time Telephone Kitty comes around and bothers you, don't scold her. Your cat legitimately thinks that your voice is meant for her ears. Why Kitty rubs up against you? I believe that Kitty rubs when she's excited. A wound-up kitty can't sit at a desk and tap her fingernails on it. She can't reach out for a cigarette or a pack of gum. She's excited and feels a need to move and do things, but her options are limited, so she rubs. Moving illness, boarding days, and even marital problems can also affect the little fur ball. So the next time you're ready to argue in front of your cat, think about it. Does Kitty really need the extra stress in her life? And forget about it, at least for Kitty's sake. How to get your cat to do what you want. But it still won't do the dishes for me.